This is part 2 of a series that I am creating, and also it is me just saying stories of what happened to me throughout my life and stuff. The first episode was about a medical thing, and it's titled "A Whole Nurse Doesn't Know Their Place." It's the last video I posted right before this one. And that's part 1. This is part 2. So if you like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. But without further ado, let's get right into the video. Okay, so this is going to be like just kind of talking about the struggles and stuff of what happened throughout my life. So I don't really know how to go about this because I'm new at this, but if you got any tips, tell me in the comments. But so we're going to be starting off with career choices. I didn't really ever know what I wanted to do with my life when I was younger, except for one job, which I came up with because I wanted to help people. I told myself that I'd be fine if I died as long as I saved one person or helped one person. I just wanted that one job, and that one job was being a police officer. And I had this whole life planned out that I was going to get, like, not a super big house, just like I was going to get a house. I was going to have a German Shepherd that would be my police dog. So, like, I would have them work with me when I'm out on the field, and then I would bring them home at the end of my work shift. And I was going to do that, and then maybe have a few reptiles. Not a whole lot. And then I was going to figure out whether I wanted kids or not. And I was going to get, like, if I did have kids, 3 or less kids. But I was going to adopt them because of my medical stuff. I cannot give birth to a child, whether that be, like, from me, like, I just am not capable of giving birth. So instead of giving birth, I would either have to have someone else birth my baby for me, or I would adopt. So I was going to have one person birth my baby for me. If you don't understand how that works, basically the stuff that turns into a baby, doctors take out, and then they preserve it, and then people will sign up to basically be the person to have the baby develop inside of, and you interview them and you get to know them, and then if you feel like it's a right fit, then what turns into the baby would be implanted into them, and then the baby would start to develop in them and they would become pregnant. And then when the baby is in them, they would give me updates constantly of how the baby's doing, all that stuff. So I'd stay in touch the whole time. And then when the baby's born, the baby would come to me and I would get the baby. And then I was planning on doing that once and then maybe adopting 1 or 2 kids, because even then I knew there was way too many kids in foster situations or needing to be adopted, and like a lot of the older kids don't really get adopted. So I was planning on getting an older kid, but as I got older, I had the dream to be a police officer since I was like anywhere from 5 to 7, and then I started planning out like what animals I wanted, probably closer to like around 8-ish, and I thought about having kids when I was probably around there too, but I found out when I was 12 that I could not be a police officer, and the one backup job that I had was being an acrobatic singer and dancer, which I know was a little overzealous, but I really loved the beauty of acrobatic dancing, and I loved the beautiful singing, and it really spoke to me. But as I listened to the reasons I couldn't be a police officer, it finally clicked in my head I can't be either of those jobs, because the reason why I can't be a police officer is from all my medical stuff. I have so many medical stuff that it would be too dangerous, and I would be more of a liability on a police force than a helper, as I have back problems, I have bladder problems, and I have a colostomy bag. If you don't know what that is, just look it up. A colostomy bag and an ileostomy bag are two separate things, by the way. I'm pretty sure. I just know that they're on two separate sides of your body, but make sure you look up colostomy bag if you do look it up. I found out I couldn't have either of those jobs, and it hit me like a wave. Like, for a second, I was just stunned, and I was just sitting there, and then tears started to stream down my face, and I didn't know what was happening. And I'm pretty sure I cried for over 3 hours straight that night, as I realized my entire life, I thought that was my purpose. That's what I'm here for. And that's what I'm going to do with my life. That was the only thing I had control over for my future, the only thing that I had planned out. And it was taken from me because of my medical stuff. And to get to know, like, why that was, like, such a big deal, I'll tell you in a little bit. But, like, I felt like my entire future was now a mystery, because that was the one thing I knew, or I thought I knew for certain, was going to be my future. I thought that was what I was being called to do. That's what I want to do with my life. I want to be a police officer. And as I sat there, I didn't want to cry in front of everyone, and I was around 12, but I'm not going to give too much personal information, but there was a little kid there present, and I didn't want them to see me cry, because if they saw me cry, then they would start to cry. So I just sat in the bathroom and I cried, and my mom was the one who broke the news to me, but didn't realize how hard it hit me. And they had to go do errands, so I was left there, and I was crying, and my siblings were looking after the kid that was there. But when I was done, my eyes were so red and so painful and so bloodshot and swollen that they thought something was wrong. And one of my siblings never really likes hugs. They don't hug anyone except for our parents. Like, they do not like hugs. That was the first time that they willingly were the first person to reach out for a hug in over a year, probably. Because, like, we do hand hugs and stuff like that. But, like, instead of doing full body hugs, we, like, hold each other's hands for a second. Basically like a handshake. And that's what we do and stuff. But that I thought I was over it now, but it just hit me like another wave, and I had to take a couple days, or more so a couple weeks, and that was actually a really hard time on me. I don't think I was 12, I think I was 13, but like I couldn't deal with it properly, and I just kind of laid in my bed, and I didn't do a whole lot, and I didn't really talk a whole lot. But then, like, after that, I went back to being my usual boisterous, loud, energetic self, constantly out doing stuff. And I thought it was fine. I got over it. It's fine. It's just another thing to add to the list that I can't do now. But as time went on, every once in a while something would bring it up, or I would just think about it, and I would either almost come to tears or come to tears. And I was talking with my mom one day, and we were talking about medical stuff, and I realized from what it sounded like if the doctors had just listened to my mom and done what the tests and surgery that she was asking for over a year, maybe I would have been able to. And I couldn't stop crying, and I was hyperventilating, having a full-blown panic attack as I realized what I thought my life's purpose was taken from me, from some doctor who was too egotistical to listen to my mom. And I don't mean this in any way of, oh, doctors suck and I hate doctors. No. But at that time, I was so mad. That was one of the most mad and sad I have ever been in my entire life. But my mom explained to me that it would have been the same way either way. It sucks because it took years longer and more damage was done on my body. We don't know for sure. I don't think we've really asked the question, and I'm kind of scared to hear the news, but I'm pretty sure that my lifespan has been shortened because of both the stress, the constant pain, the medical issues, just everything. Like, just to put things into perspective, one of my surgeries, they had to take a part of my spine out and put it back in, and I was wheelchair bound before that for a while. And I have an artificial bladder now, and I have a colostomy bag, just to put things into perspective. And my mom was the main one to do all that medical stuff with me. And I'm pretty sure our lifespans have probably been shortened. Hers from stress and grief over her child being put through all that pain and stress on her body and everything, not knowing if I was going to die or not, as there was multiple times I almost died. And then just a lot happened. And then to kind of put things more into perspective of why this was such a big deal for me, throughout my life, I didn't know how to swim, roller skate. I couldn't climb the monkey bars. Because of all of this, I had a small learning disability. I didn't know how to read or spell. I still struggle on reading, and I still struggle on spelling. I struggle on spelling way more than I struggle with reading, though, and it's just really difficult. And it's really hard on me. But I'm getting better about it all and everything. But all of this has left me with trauma and everything that causes me to have a nightmare disorder, where I have horrid, vivid nightmares every single night. And throughout my life, and since I was a baby, since I was born, I was in and out of the hospital at least once a week. And the hospital we went to was about over a 3-hour drive. So I was spending most of my life in a car in a hospital, more so than my own house. And it got to the point where, I couldn't sleep by myself. It wasn't safe. I was constantly waking up every single night with nightmares that I couldn't deal with, crying and sobbing and panic attacks. My blood sugar would randomly drop in the night, and I would almost pass out because of my bladder problems. Through sheer pain, my body would just be overloaded from the pain, and I would pass out into my parents' arms as I used the bathroom. And I had to be in a wheelchair, and my favorite thing to do was run, and I could no longer run. I couldn't read like the other kids. I couldn't spell like the other kids. I couldn't swim or roller skate or run around like the other kids. I couldn't make friends and stay in contact because I was constantly in and out of the hospital, and I didn't have a phone. So the only way to talk to my friends was through my parents. But who wants to be friends with someone that you never talk to? Because think about it. If you never talked to someone and you never knew if they were going to be there or not, why would you be friends with them? That was kind of my life. And even now, I don't have very many friends. I'm thankful for the few that I do have, as they are really good friends to me. But now, my biggest fear is being abandoned, forgotten, and dying alone. And I'm pretty sure that's one of the reasons why I'm so loud and obnoxious and constantly outgoing, is I don't want to be forgotten. And I have a really hard time letting go of friends because I have so few. When someone becomes not a great person, I try and hold on to them, and it's hurt me more than once. One of my friends, I won't name them for obvious reasons, but I was so confused of why I was never seeing them and why I could never hang out with them and why they were always gone. Because at the time I lived across the street from a playground, so we would just come to the park like every day and play. And months went by and I had not seen them once. And then it got to the point where one time I saw someone who looked like them. I don't know if it was them or not, but I immediately ran out of my house, put my shoes on, and sprinted to the park. But by the time I got there, they were gone, and I walked home, and I literally just cried into my pillow. It got to that point, and this person was my first ever crush. The first person I ever had a crush on at probably around 11 to 12. And I didn't understand why they weren't coming to the park anymore. And I was told that they had a crush on me, which was where I originally started to have a crush on them, as no one had ever felt that way, to my knowledge, for me. And I thought about it, and they weren't the best kid. Like, they were accused of a bunch of stuff, but I never saw anything. Like, they were accused of threatening people and stuff like that. But I don't live in a place where the kids are very nice, if I do say so. But, like, I never believed them, because why would I? That was my friend. That was the kid that I always played with. Why would I believe other people over them if I had never seen it? And, so, trigger warning, this might be a little triggering, but I found out that they weren't lying about my friend. They had threatened people with knives, cut people, and had beaten people up and was vaping and smoking, things that I'm not going to disclose here, but they had pictures of little kids. So they told me that they were the same age as me. I found out that they were just a smaller 15-year-old, and I was around 12 or 11 at that time. So they were probably around 15 or 16. And they were saying that they were the same age as me, and they had tried to get me to come over to their house once with the excuse that me and them could play in their hose and have a water balloon fight, because it was like an 80 or 90 degree day in the middle of summer. And I asked my dad, hey, can I go over? And they're like, sorry, I don't know their parents, I've never been to their place, you can't go. And I was super mad at them, and I was like, I don't get why I can't hang out with them at their house. I've known them for so long. And now I know that they had pictures of little girls, naked, partially naked, or just in general, or sleeping, around 8 or younger. And, once again, trigger warning. And they ended up raping more than one person, but they raped one of my friends. And my friend, I knew them because they were the sibling to one of my friends. But they were only 9, and they had been raped, and I didn't know that, and I didn't know why they stopped coming to the park, and I didn't know why everyone thought he was so bad, because no one was telling me. And that day when I found out what everything had happened, I realized that day that I had been hanging out with a dangerous man, or boy, I guess. But I'm pretty sure I was going to become a target, and I haven't seen them since, but they know where I live. And one time they came to my house and asked if I was there. Thankfully I wasn't, so they left. But I don't know that if they actually believed I was gone or if they just thought I was avoiding them. But I haven't seen them since, but I've seen them I haven't seen them at the park or anywhere near me, but my friend had seen them as they had tried to intimidate them and push them around, and actually tried to beat them up, and was saying some very inappropriate things to them, clearly trying to make them another victim. And it got to the point where my friend had to jump on them and literally had to choke them out to get them to back off. And then they backed off and kind of just left them alone after that, as they were kind of scared of them, as I don't think anyone had ever fought back, as they normally targeted people smaller and younger than them. And then they also ended up breaking a bunch of rules, as they had ankle monitor on still and stuff, and they would leave their house constantly and stuff. And they live in a neighborhood not too far away from where I lived at the time, and they ended up getting arrested multiple times, I'm pretty sure, as I told my friends to kind of just leave me out of the loop unless it's necessary for me to know. But I watched them come in and out of one house multiple times, and police were constantly at that house, and I had seen them put in to a police call multiple times. And I realized how close I came to not being the same. And for me, something like that, I'm pretty sure would have been very dangerous, especially at that time. And I was mentally younger than I was at the time. So I was like 12 or 13, like I said. But I was mentally like 5 or 6 in most parts of my mental maturity and mental age and everything. Because my brain didn't have the time to catch up with my actual age, because my brain was constantly in survival mode at the hospital. It's caught up for the most part now, and now I'm just catching up on learning stuff and stuff like that. And I'm able to roller skate. I actually do that at least once a month now, mostly. I swim every once in a while. I know how to swim normally, and how to dive underwater, and how to doggy paddle, and for the most part, I know how to read, and I'm learning how to spell, and I'm getting it all back together. But I had a lot of stuff taken from my childhood that I can never get back. Time that I should have spent with my family that I can never get back, and ability to do certain things that I will never be able to do anymore, and things that would have been so much easier to learn at the time and would have helped me. I didn't know. And for a while, I had almost a panic attack anytime I was left alone at home, because for those who go to the hospital a lot, you know that they have a hospital call button, and I was in a pretty big family, so when I was at home, I was constantly surrounded, as I shared a bedroom with my siblings, and I was constantly surrounded by them, and then when I was in the car, I was surrounded by my parents, who would be able to talk to me whenever I wanted to talk, and then when I would go to the hospital, I could just call a nurse in with my call button and just chat with them whenever I felt like it. I constantly was surrounded by people, and I didn't know how to deal with it when I wasn't for a while. And it's just, there was a lot. And now, because of all my medical stuff and trauma and everything, now even just in my own bedroom, I can't sleep in there properly because it terrifies me. I have panic attacks, and I have way more nightmares when I sleep in my own bed because of all the trauma from all the medical and pain issues that I had in that bed. So I'm swapping rooms, one, because I have more siblings that share a room with me than with my other sibling, so we're going to be swapping rooms so we get a bigger room. And two, I can't sleep in my own room because of it. It's hard, and I'm not trying to I'm not trying to get you guys to pity me or whatever, so don't think that I'm doing that. And I'm not saying this so that people go into my comments and be like, oh, I'm so sorry for all that you've been through, and oh, that must have been so tough. It's fine if you do that. I don't care. But that's not the reason why I'm here saying this. I'm saying this because I don't know fully, but I just kind of want to share my story, and I'm tired of not being able to share my story, and if I can share it with one of you guys, and maybe my story sounds familiar to someone you know or you yourself, maybe it helps, or maybe it's just entertaining to listen to someone. I don't know. I watch and listen to things like this all the time, so completely understand if you just want to listen to this. But I wanted to kind of just come on here, say my story, make myself feel better, and if this helps anyone or entertains anyone, my job's done here. But if you have any ideas for videos that I should do in the future, just comment down below what any ideas you have or anything really. Just make sure to keep it PG-13. And please like and subscribe.